When was the last time you used a cheque? It's probably been a while, right? Because using cheque has become a rare occurrence. They are old-fashioned, costly and time-consuming. With banking at our fingertips, who wants to visit an actual bank to deposit a cheque anymore? As ancient and taxing as this sounds, there was a time when cheques were the hot new payment tech. This was in the years after World War II, when newly affluent households across the world adopted cheques. But now, these pieces of paper are a remnant of labour-intensive banking era, which is why many countries want the cheque to check out of their banking system. And Australia is one of them. It has signed the cheque's death warrant, and the land down under wants to end its use by 2030. But this is not too surprising. Over the past decade, there has been a 90% decline in the use of cheques in Australia, which have become a mere legacy payment in the country. Only a small number of them are being used. The government says 98% of personal cheques and 100% of those in commercial settings can be serviced through internet banking. So what's the plan? A winding down process is expected, and the government plans to begin it soon. The banking system will now have to reduce its dependence on cheques and move on to use other payment methods. They have a deadline for this. They need to transition by 2028. And by 2030, the use of cheques will be completely discontinued. The government wants this transition to be gradual and coordinated. Question is, why now? If cheques have been on a continuous decline, why is Australia suddenly thinking about them? Because big changes are underway, and the country is actively bracing for the digital era. So it is introducing a range of payment reforms, and discontinuation of cheques is just one of them. It is setting out a roadmap because it wants to modernize their payment infrastructure. And Australia isn't the only one doing so. Many countries have reduced using cheques. Some have even stopped altogether. In India, the share of cheque payments has been steadily declining. It reduced from 14% in 2010 to 3% now. In the UK, cheques now account for less than 1% of retail bank payments. Germany, Sweden and Norway use almost no written cheques. Finland abandoned the personal cheque in 1993. Poland followed suit in 2006. So countries are reducing their dependency on cheques. And what is their new financial love affair? Digital payments. More and more countries are transitioning to digital money transfers, depending on contactless, real-time payments. 2/3 of adults worldwide now make or receive a digital payment, whose share in developing economies grew from 35% in 2014 to 57% in 2021. And this change was further spurred by the pandemic, which increased the use of digital payments, especially in low and middle income economies, where over 40% of adults made online payments for the first time since the start of the pandemic. In India, more than 80 million adults made their first digital merchant payment after the start of the pandemic, while in China, over 100 million adults did. So everyone seems to be moving on to greener, faster, more real-time pastures. But let's remember that cheques aren't without their advantages. Many corporate bodies still want to use them. They believe the process of clearing cheques deters cyber criminals. Many small businesses too depend on cheques. So do people who aren't adept to online payments. But as useful or emotional as this sounds, the times are changing. More countries are looking to digital payments, and maybe soon it will be time for cheques to check out.